Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Q&A with Jonathan Pickup Vectorworks. Jonathan is a trained architect with more than 30 years of experience, and he has been writing and producing Vectorworks manuals and providing customer support for more than 20 years. His company, ArchonCAD, is the premier provider of third-party manuals and training resources for Vectorworks. He offers monthly webinars for Vectorworks and maintains the Visual Knowledgebase for Vectorworks. As I said, Jonathan joins us from New Zealand. And now let me tell you a little bit about Novage. As you can see, we have a special promotion going on for Vectorworks. You can save 30% off if you're new customers. This promo ends Friday. This is why it's important that you know today so you can do your math. And also today we'll give away a special promo discount. I shared it in the chat of this webinar, so you should be able to access and use it at checkout. 10% on any Vectorworks products today only. And that's it. Let me get back to it. I will remind you that Novage is changing the way designers purchase 3D software. We have all the choices and you have freedom to go back and forth from different kind of software solution. We don't judge you, you are the judge. And we're here to give advice and the best service you can get. So now let me share Jonathan's screen so you can take your questions.
Cool. So okay. I've got one. So I've got a couple of questions. Let me see if I've got them. Michael sent a question. Michael's not. Oh, Michael, you're here, aren't you? Okay. So, Michael, I had a look at your issue with this rafter. I'll just turn up the rendering style. Let's draw the edges. So I had a look at this rafter that you're trying to generate here. I'm sorry, Michael, I can't make this part of the rafter less. So I can put the notch in. The notch or the bird's mouth here is controlled by this bearing inset here, I think. So make it 300 millimeters. That's that little notch just in this area here. You can see there it's just 50 millimeters or 2 inches. We can make it 10 inches or 200 millimeters. So you can see I can place that notch easily because I can put the bearing inset here. I've also got the ability to have an overhang. Where's the overhang gone? Overhang here. So I was able to make that what you wanted, which is 317 millimeters. But I just wasn't able to make this portion here any less. So it's just not possible to do what you want, I don't think. The height of that you had 140 millimeters. I just can't make this bit any less. And the only other way you can do it is to perhaps look at a different object. And as you said, you've done solid subtraction. What I think you can do, if you do the solid subtraction, we want to cut a portion of that away. So that needs to be, well, that's steeper, isn't it? So let's make that steeper. Where's my angle gone? Rotation, pitch. Let's make that 15 degrees. So it looks a lot better that way. So I'm going to draw a rectangle on here. So the only thing I did think of, Michael, is that if you do a rectangle here, because we want to take this piece away, that you could, oh, I shouldn't really do it that way. Let's go back to my rectangle tool and we'll do from here down to here. And we want to take some of that away and just check these things here. If you turn that on, you should be able to do instant solid subtraction. Let's just extend that rectangle there. I'm just going to double click on it. I just need to extend that up a little bit. That'll cut that piece away for me. Now, the only thing I did think of is that will give you the shape that you want, but instead of leaving it as a solid subtraction, what about making that into a symbol? So if you then go modify and say create symbol, this is on my other screen at the moment, so I just need to move it back on, and we'll call it rafter 1. Rafter 1, and that's my insertion point there. Okay. Now the idea of doing that as a symbol is that I can then do things like duplicate array, so I can make a series of these 0. Let's make them 600 apart. Let's put in 20. So I've got a whole bunch of them. If I need to make a change, I can go to one of them. I can edit the 3D component. Let's go to this one here now. I'm going to select this rectangle here. Not only am I going to make it deeper, I'm also going to rotate it a bit. So I'm going to rotate it a little bit that way, and I need to make it longer. So when I exit my extrusion, it should chop the end of my rafter off, and then I exit my symbol, and all of my rafters update. So while it's not perfect to do it that way, I think that you can get away with it a bit, and at least you turn it into that kind of symbol. The other thing is, in 2D, you'll notice that this is see-through. If I draw something underneath, and let's give it a slight color. Now, if I send that to the back, you'll notice that you can see through my rafters. So what I need to do with these rafters is to update them. Let's edit the 3D component. I'm going to draw this shape here. And that's going to go onto screen plane, which will then convert that symbol from a regular 3D symbol to a hybrid symbol. And now you can see there in my rafters, they look solid. So that would be a way around it. It's not perfect because you want Vectorworks to do this for you. But on the other hand, that might do what you were looking to do. And I hope that answers your question. So Gerald, the challenge was that we wanted to have this end taper. And I can't see anything on the framing member that allows you to taper it. You can obviously modify the length and the span easily. It's this object here. I can change the span, I can change the length, but the framing member wants to be a constant width all the way along. And what I really wanted to do is to have that taper at the end. So there might be another way. I don't see it at the moment. But Gerald, you had a question, I think, about doing framing. So I thought I'd start with this project here. It's a simple little house project, and I thought we could go through the framing of that. We could frame the roof and so on. I think I'm not sure I've got roof framing yet. Okay, so we could frame this up, and I can go through some of the steps about framing up something like this. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get rid of some of the information I don't want to see. I'm going to use my visibility tool, which is this one. I use this a lot for hiding classes. It's my class mode there. That's my invisible mode. I'm going to click on these objects and it'll turn their class invisible. I've got some electrical here I want to get rid of. I've got some more dimensions here. Have I got any other things? So now I've got here, this is a floor pile, which I've used a column for. I can get rid of all of those. The other tool I use a lot is this one here, the Select Similar tool. I use it for all sorts of things. It's really useful, particularly if you save some of these ahead of time. So let's just go through our settings. I quite like searching for objects by their class and their type. If I want to search them just by their class, I'll select that, or their object type, I'll select that. I've got some times where you want to select something like a wall. You can select a wall by its type, by its style or its thickness. You can save all of these settings up here, so it makes it really quick to jump to these settings. And I haven't have too many more that I need other than these ones, object and class, object. Sometimes, as I said, I'll select things by their wall. But it's really powerful, particularly if you save those options, because those options appear in this pop-up menu. Then you can go, let's select objects by their, or select things by their object and type. So it selects all of my columns. I can delete all of those. These are all my bearers. Can delete all those. These are all my joists. Going to delete all those. And this is my bracing, I think, in here. Bracing lines, let's delete all of that. So I've got a rather simple plan. I'm going to hide at this stage. I'm going to use the visibility tool again. The shortcut for that is the V for Victor. Hide that. So I'm left with this object here. If I wanted to frame that quickly, there's a framing object up here, or a framing command here. Framing, and it's called create joists. So it's going to create my joist. The top of my joist is -20, because I've got a floor object there that's 20 millimeters high. I can set my joist properties, 45 wide, they're 140 millimeters high, or about 6 inches, 5.5 inches. They're a solid beam. We're going to display their width, and we don't want to see a label. Set joist attributes, mine are all by class. I've got a class for these objects, and here the class is going to be structural, floor, joist. So I create classes for all this. I create classes for all this information to make it easy. I find that if you can put information on class, particularly if the classes mean something, floor structure or structure floor joist, it just means it's a floor joist. Okay, so that's fine for that. We've set those. Are we going to draw perimeter joists? Their elevation is also -20. And what are we going to do? We're going to have corner joists, -20. Same thing there. The joist properties, same. Set framing member, all by class. And this should put joists or perimeter joists all the way around. If you don't want to do this, then turn that off. And we don't want to delete the source geometry. Because I've got a floor object, I don't want to delete that. If it was just a polygon, I would just leave that on. Where are we going to start? Start in the middle, go in that direction, click, and it creates a series of framing members for me. Now, it's done something, they look a little weird at the moment, and they've come out as a solid beam. They should be a solid beam. They should have no bevel there, and it looks like since I sent those to beam again, they look correct. Now they're 600 millimeters apart. This one here, I actually need a double. So what I'm going to use is one of the things I do use a lot is the move by points tool. And the keyboard shortcut that I've got, Shift+Z or Shift+Z, if you have a look at your keyboard, you'll see they're next to each other. And it's just because I found it was easy to remember those. So we're going to move, I've got to select that joist. So from there, then you'll notice that Vectorworks selects it by its center, which is not what I wanted. I wanted it to snap on that corner, put one there. Snap at that corner, put one there. Snap at that bottom corner and put one here, and snap there again and put one there. And you might notice that it actually took a little bit for me to get those in the right location. So let's start again, move by points. My cursor is actually quite a long way away from my rafter or my joist. If I go too close, it goes to the center. So I've clicked there, go to that point, and I have to move quite away from my joist again, and then I can go close there. So that's given me my joists. How's that? So we've got that selected, and if we spin our view around, oh, they've got a bevel on the end of them. I left them with a bevel on the end. Okay. So how am I going to select all those and fix that bevel? My select similar tool again. Let's select all of those. I've got an ending bevel of 0 and a beginning bevel of 0. That should have fixed that. Now I'm going to do my bearers. Now the bearers won't automatically do it the same way, or I may not make them the same way, but I could if I wanted to. So I'm going to go back to AC, framing. I'm going to create joists again. This time their distance is about 3 times that. So it's about 6 feet, 1800. And I'm going to start here and go that direction. And it's created those two there, which again, I'm going to make a solid beam and then drag a copy of this one along. Don't forget, you can just drag those. And I want to duplicate that because I want 2 of those. Yeah, I do need 2. So again, I'll use my keyboard shortcut from there to there. And then I can go, I think it's Alt on a Windows machine, it's Command on a Macintosh. I'm going to frame from that corner to there and do the same thing here. So grab that one. The nice thing about using that keyboard shortcut is that it just allows you to keep going without losing the tool, without having to go back to the tool. So it's quite a handy little trick. So these ones, that one, that one, it could be tricky to select all of these together. So just make sure I've got that object, that one, those 2, those 2, and those 2. So they want to be on bearers because those are my bearers, and you'll see their line style changes. They also need to go to the back. They need to go behind all that information that's there. And their elevation needs to be -20, -140. And their height, their vertical reference plane, is the top of them. So they should be sitting underneath my joists. Oh, and I've got their height wrong. Height should have been 140. So now I'm starting to get my objects starting to fit together. So that would be how I would frame the ground. Then I'm going to start with the walls. So I'm going to hide this information. I can hide that, hide those, and I'll bring all my walls back. So let's have a look for walls. External. Okay, so there are my walls back. Now there is an option in Vectorworks to create wall framing, which is what I thought you might be interested in, Gerald, was the actual wall framer. And it's this one here, the wall framer. And it will create joists, bottom plates, top plates. Let's have a look. So this is my new model name. This is my wall frame. Oh yeah, that's right. Limited to 8 characters. So old school. Okay, so the model name is framing. We're going to create a 3D model. We're going to create worksheets. Do you want to count all of the stuff? And we're going to look for everything on the following layer, which is floor. That's it. That's all we're going to want. We do have to go through some settings here. Oh, sorry. We have to go through some settings here under options. We have to find the wall class. What do we want? We want wall, I forgot what I call it now. Wall external. No, it doesn't. It's already got it, I think. It says default there, but I can't choose the wall external, so it must know that it's already got wall external. Is it there, down the bottom? And they don't seem to be sorted alphabetically. Weird. Okay, so what's my stud spacing? 600mm centers. What's my plate length? Maybe 5 meters. This will then calculate how long it can go. Maybe it's 20 feet long for a standard piece. My sheet stock size, so this will determine that to make sure that several studs will line up with everything, so it's 4 feet. My sheet stock height. Now I actually want to have this nog or dwang at about 800mm, or just under 3 feet. So I'm going to make that 800 as my sheet stock height, and it will put my nogs through there. I should really choose my right size of my timber, 45 by 90. And do I want fire blocking? Do I want double end studs? We can make some of these choices, and we should be able to click OK, and it should just generate my thing for me. Walls that haven't been selected, so I have to go back and do that again. Electrical framing, wall framer. So turn those off. Let's go back to my options. And it's got default, so I'm going to look for, It's going to find electrical. Wall blocking, wall proposed, wall balustrade. It's probably listing these in the order that I created them, so it could be a bit tricky to find it. So I've probably got no choice but to scroll through these looking for the one that I'm looking for. Wall foundation. I tried my trick of typing in WA to see if it would find walls, but it wouldn't keep searching for the next one. Walls veneer. Wall high level, no. Walls bracing, no. It's not going to find my wall external. It's kind of annoying. I was hoping it might choose it if I chose the component in the middle, but it's not doing that either. Unless someone else can see it, am I blind? Maybe I'm just missed it. It's slightly frustrating that it won't find. Oh, there it is, wall external. Okay. Now let's try it again. Cool. So this time I got the right style. I found the right class. It's done a spreadsheet, so it's counted up all of that stuff there. It should have given me a 3D view, which is this one here. So I've got lintels, I've got my framing, so let's put lintels in. Let's put the stud there. I've got my trimmer stud or my jack stud. I think some people call it a cripple stud. Here I've got, this isn't quite right, there should be another stud underneath that double sill. Should really have one under here. So it doesn't do a bad job, but it's not perfect because it doesn't quite line up with the way that I like to work. And if we do a gable roof, it doesn't start with two studs in the middle of the gable sometimes. So you might have to help it out a little bit to do that. So I don't know, Gerald, whether that was the thing you were looking for. And the next thing I was going to do is my roof framing. It's my roof object. Now my roof is got some grouped information here. This is my flashings. If I just render that, you'll see I've made flashings for my roof. I've made a gutter. I've got a downpipe here. This is the downspouts tool. I've got a roof main. That should be flashing. Okay, that's my flashings. I'm going to hide my flashings, which leaves me with a roof. That should be my roof gutter. And that's my roof object, the roof face. Let's just check, see if it's got components. It doesn't have any components, but you might easily have components in here. So if we start to have some components, this is my cladding or my roofing, which is only 20 mils thick. And then I might have, let's get rid of that. No, that one wants to be the roofing. Roofing, these will be my purlins. They're 45, they're on their flat. Make all attributes by class. If you've got a class in there, this is my roofing. So this is 20, 45. Let's add a new one. This will be my rafters. And these will be 90. And make sure my rafters are at the bottom. So I've got a zone called rafters. Now you'll see that my whole height changed, came down a little bit, which means that my flashing is going to be the wrong height. I'm not going to worry about that at the moment. So if I go back to a top view, I've got my roof selected. I go to AEC, framing, and I'm going to make my roof framer. So the roof framer will create rafters, which I use quite often. I'm going to make them 140 by 45. 140 by 45. If you want to add extra ones, we can add a new one. Let's add a new one, which the width is 45, the height is 90. Let's choose that one. Spacing 900, let's put them on a class. Now what I need is structural roof rafters. My attributes will be class style, class thickness. And then I can put collars if I want. If I want to use collars, this one won't use collars. I can put a top plate round if I want. This is quite handy if you want to put an extra top plate. So you can make a top plate which is slightly wider, notched flush to the top plate or notched for the top plate. I'm not going to put those, but I do want to put purlins. So I want to put in 90 by 45 purlins on there flat. I find these numbers here a little bit confusing. The 1 is easy enough, but 2 is challenging because I really want the purlin position to start at the lower end of the rafter, and then I don't have to worry about it. I want to put in, I think I need 5 purlins, and I'm just going to leave the elevations here alone because it's going to use number of purlins 5, and these 2 options here, particularly this option's purlin start at the lowest end, they will automatically figure it out. Let's go to my classes. This class is structural again, and it's structural roof purlins. And we'll use class for everything. The reason I use class for everything is so that when I go to create my drawings, I can then modify the class overrides in my viewports to get the look and style that I want. Let's go back to rafters. So set the rafter to the top of the roof or the bottom of the roof. So it also needs to know which component I'm using. Select the roof component, rafters. So if I set rafters as my roof component, the top of my rafters is the top of my roof component rafters. So that should be quite good. It should line up exactly with that zone. I can create purlins, I can create ridges if I want. If I needed to create ridge, I can create a ridge. I can create headers, or I can create hips and valleys. So for a simple house, this works really well, and it'll create all of your hips and valley rafters, or your ridges, or your purlins, and all your rafters. Click OK, and it should create all of my objects for me. Now it's difficult to see them because I've also got these roof components here. So what I quite often do is I quite often get these, the roof face, I'll set the components, and I'll assign these to classes as well. So here we might want to have a rafter zone. Is there a rafter zone? Roof components, rafters, structural roof rafters. So I often have a rafter zone, so I'll just choose that one at the moment. And if I turn that zone off, I'll just stop my filtering. Rafter. So I can turn off the rafters there, and so it leaves me with some of those objects selected. Let's just set my... So now you can see I've got my objects, there's my rafters, there's my purlins, because of the class settings for those objects. So let's edit the settings for that. At the moment I've got no fill. If I change that to a solid fill, now you can see all my rafters. Let's make purlins, structural, let's edit that one as well, and we'll make that solid. And there you can see there's my purlins. So these have come down a little bit too far, but further than I wanted them to, because I must have made some decision about the height of those. But I do know that I could adjust these if I wanted to. So I could grab all of those objects and all of those objects, and I could do move 3D, which is under modify, move 3D. And I'm just out by about 2 inches. So that's better. And then when I cut a section through the building, I can then use these objects to fill in my section. So let's go to create a section through my building. Create section viewport through here, looking that way. And we're going to create a new sheet layer for this. I'm not going to worry about, I'll give it a number, 100. Section. Okay, so there's my section. You'll notice because my purlins are inside that thickness, inside that zone, you don't see them very well. What classes should I have turned on? I've got my classes somewhere, it's over here. Now what classes do we want to see? Well, first of all, are we looking at all of our layers? Let's just make sure we're looking at all of our layers. Floor, better turn that on and update. Okay, so now we're looking at all that information. If I turn off my external, wall external, let's turn that off. We still see our studs. Okay, layers, we have to do that one, turn that one on. Let's update. So now you can see all of my framing. So it's given me my bottom plate, my nogs. So I didn't think it was too bad to do it that way. And also I can turn on my other framing. I'm not sure I put all my other framing on the right classes. Joist, I did, didn't I? Joist, yeah, let's turn that on. And we had bearers. Let's turn my bearers on. And I can't remember if my flooring was on a class as well. Floor. Oh yeah, timber floor bed, turn that on. Let's update. So it's starting to come along a little bit. This looks a little strange because we've got the combination of the top plate here and the floor and the other part, and part of my section preferences, advanced properties, I've got merge cross sections. Let's do separate cross sections, and we'll do merge objects with the same fill. No, maybe we won't do that. Add a profile line. The profile line is actually kind of cool. I like that. Let's go OK, update. And so you can see it started to show the difference between objects. And I'm going to go back to my background render setting. Let's get rid of the sketch. So you can see these objects here, that they differentiate between different objects. So it's now starting to be quite a detailed section, which is not bad. So Gerald, I was hoping that would answer your questions. I still don't see any other questions, so it would be a good idea if someone started asking some questions. And if there's anything that I've done so far that you don't know why I've done it or how I've done it, I'm more than happy to answer the question. So if I've used a tool or if I've used a technique you don't understand, please ask me. I'm more than happy to answer your questions.
Thanks, Jonathan. That's a great input. Yeah, but I don't see any questions. So
I don't see any questions either. So there was one thing I was going to do. So there are some Vectorworks plugins, which I think you can get to from the Vectorworks website. Vectorworks, they've got partners. And one of the partners is AF Design, I think they're called. Support all products. They've just got a new partner. Where are their partner things? Buildings, landscape support. Where's their partner site? They just did it recently, didn't they? Let's go to Vectorworks. Where's partners? Partner products, there we are. Stronger together, yep. Find a partner, let's find their partners. There's one called AF Design. Antonio Facinelli. Let's visit his website. So Gerald, you were having an issue with the rafter. And one of the objects that Andrea's got is called the rafter, custom beams. And I wondered whether, Gerald, whether you could use that to solve your problem. Because it creates a beam, you can do a custom end on it. He's got some other things. I don't know if anyone noticed, I had a thing called downspouts, which is one of these tools that I've got here. The gutters is really cool. It puts gutters around your building. The baseboard I've used, it's really fun because you just draw the shape, and you can use a symbol or draw a shape for the baseboard or the skirting, and it'll draw that. I think a lot of you have seen Foliage as a tool, and this is the guy who made it. And he makes this nice little furniture object, which is really easy to use. And there's the downspouts, which I think is free. So support Andrea. He's got some quite cool little tools here, and I use them quite often.
Thanks, Jonathan. That's a great tip.
So
what was the question?
Yeah, I see there is another question. Let me just get back to where I was going. So back to that, and back to Vectorworks. I think I've got a site model. So I was just talking about the Foliage tool. This is the Foliage tool, Barbara, this one here. This is my foliage. I can move it. It regenerates. Oh, what have I done? I've done something funny to it. Let's just move one end of it. So I can put I can put something around my house, which is quite easy to do, and it's designed to fit to the site model as well. So as you move these points around, it will update and fit to the site. Which is pretty cool. So I've got another question. A slope analysis showing different slopes and different colors and generating a report. And generating the report, I'm not too sure about. But this is my site model here. And if we go to an orthogonal view of my site, you should be able to use slope analysis, shouldn't you, with your site model settings? Here's my site model settings. 3D display, we're going to do proposed only, 3D mesh, and you can do here, I think, colored slope, where the different colors represent different slopes. Site analysis. So number of slope categories, we'll have 2. So the maximum slope in percentage terms is 0.5. I always struggle with percentage terms. 1 and 3 I could deal with, or 1 and 2 I could deal with. I'll have to get my calculator. What's 1 and 3? That's 30%, isn't it? 0.3. Maximum slope, I better have 3. 1 and 2 would be, is that a percentage? No, that'd be 30%, wouldn't it? 33%. 1 and 5 would be 50%. 75. Let's see if that gives me anything. So all my slopes are quite shallow. So let's make it 10%, 20%, 40%. So you can do your slope analysis. Now, reporting that, I'm not quite sure how you're going to report the different slopes. So it may not be too involved for today, but it might be too involved for me. It's not something I do a lot of, reporting the areas of slopes. The other way around it might be that you might want to use something like the slope. Let's go back to Workspaces Architect. So it might be, instead of doing that analysis with colors, it might be that you want to use something like, where's it gone? There is a slope analysis tool, which I think you can use in Vectorworks Architect. You might have to add it to your workspace. But it's the grade object. And I wondered if you wanted to do average grades like that. Where's it gone? Oh, it's over here. Okay. So this is my grade settings. And what I want to do is I want to use heights from site model. And so it gives me a report about the grade that goes from here to there. And I'm wondering if I can report those grade objects and whether that would do what you want to do. So at the moment it's giving an average grade across that site. And you might want to do a smaller area like that because it gives you a different amount. And then I thought maybe you could just report that, which would be tools, reports. Let's create a report. And the easiest way to create a report, if you can, is to use a pre-formatted report, if you can find one that looks for grade objects. But if you can't find one, we're going to have to make one. So tools, reports, let's create a report, not a custom report, and we're going to look for objects that are a grade object. There it is. So the grade object, do we want to have the name of the grade object? Do we want to have an elevation? So the elevation change, and percentage fall. And that'll give you a list of the grade objects. It won't name the grade objects for you, but can we name them? If I select that grade object there, can I call that grade object 1? So just down the bottom I've named it. So I'll copy that and select the next one, grade object 2. Now can I name these? I think I can type in equals name. So I could name the grade objects, and then I could find their elevation, their slopes, and their change in elevation, and their grade. So, what do you think, Gail? Is that worth anything? Does that help? And you can, of course, right-click and go select item. It'll pick it up for you, show you where it is. This will be grade object number 3. And I can right-click here again, select the item, and that'll be grade object number 4. Oh, that should be number 3, should it? Let's recalculate. What's wrong with these? These are out of order, so let's sort them ascending. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and it gives us our heights now. Thanks. So it might be you just need several of these, Gail, to do your reporting. You can stick one after the other, so you can actually make them link one to the other. So the grade object, you can go from one to here, from here to here, and then from there to there, and then from there to there. And you notice as you move near the first one, as you move to their joints, it actually highlights the previous one. So that's number 5, that's number 6, and that'll be number 7. And if we bring that report back, so back to Window, Worksheets, Untitled Worksheet, and we go recalculate, oh, I got 456. I've actually got a couple of extras by the look of it. This one, where's that one? Let's right click, select item. That's that one there. We'll call that one grade object number 3, I think that one was. 1, 5, 6, 7. I've got an extra one. Oh, I made one up there. Okay, so you're number 8. So hopefully that report will help Gail to show that. It is possible to report a lot of information in Vectorworks depending on what you're trying to achieve. You might notice that I added names to my object in order to make it easy to generate a report. So one of the things you can do if you've got site modifiers, you can add names to your site modifiers. Then you can start to report those as well. So that's a site modifier, which is a texture bed. I could name that, so I could report it later. Yeah, I don't like that very much. So I'm going to go back to mesh, 3D mesh like that. Now I've lost my texture bed. That's better. So I've got my texture bed back. I've got my foliage. So are there any other questions, Barbara? I don't see any other questions.
I don't either, but I think we can wrap it up. And okay. Why don't you show everybody your website, Jonathan?
Okay, well, but just before we do that, Barbara, there's one thing that no one seems to ask about, which is data, the data visualization.
Okay.
And so, Gerald's asked about the sun study. We'll have to leave data visualization for another day, maybe. Did I do a sun study on my, I think I did that on my YouTube channel. Did you see that, Gerald, the sun study I did on my YouTube channel? Somebody asked about it. So I created, I'm pretty sure I did a sun study. Let's have a look, where is it? Oh, here he is. So Gerald, someone asked about doing a shadow analysis. I've got to put up the advert. Have a look at my YouTube channel and see if that answers your question. I thought it might answer the question, but just quickly, key 5, set an orthogonal view. I've got a heliodon selected. Let's just go to my heliodon. So I'm going to look up my lights. Where's my lights gone? They're over there. Let's look for, select on document. It's my heliodon. So I can set this to solstice in June, which is my winter. How about solstice in summer? That's my summer. Let's make it 12. You'll see a big difference between summer and winter. So summer, winter, huge difference in the shadows between those two. Let's go back to equinox. It's nice. So you can do that, Gerald, and one of the other things you can do is you can then create a viewport from that. So let's put a rectangle here. Let's make sure I'm drawing that on the screen plane. From there to there, down to there. It's on the screen plane. It's got to be on screen plane. Otherwise, when you go view, create viewport, it won't select that object. So let's put that on site plan. And I've done the wrong thing, haven't I? Let's undo that. View, create viewport, site plan. I should be putting it on a sheet layer. So let's put that on a sheet layer. Let's go OK. And there it is on my sheet layer. So here it is here, Gerald. This is my sun. I just need to set this to be OpenGL Rendering. Let's update the view. And there's the view. I can also select this viewport and I can turn off that sun. Let's just see if we can see these a little more easily. So this at the moment is March. We don't want to see March. We want to see December. Let's turn that on and let's update that. So you can see the difference in the light. I've actually created a whole bunch of them. Because you can use the viewport to change the light that's visible, you can create a whole set of sun studies. So this is my YouTube movie goes through how you create each of these. But yeah, so Barbara, one of the things I was going to look at, maybe we can do this another day, which was the data visualization, the ability to change the look of things based on the data that's attached to them, which I think is really quite cool. This one here, no, where's it gone? Where's my data visualization gone? Where's it gone? Data visualization short. So this is data visualization, and I'm going to create a new one. I'm going to look for objects, objects that meet that criteria. Fine. Let's do it by value. We're going to define some criteria. Objects that have, I'll practice this, Barbara. But it is really cool, this ability to look at objects based on certain things. I think I've got some set up already. No, I must have it ready. I must have got this all ready to go. But the idea would be that based on the, if we go back to these plants, based on the month that they're supposed to be pruned, you can change their color, which I think is really, really cool. So I was hoping that we'd have some set up that I could use, but obviously I don't. All right, let's wrap it up.
All right.
Two top items on my Vectorworks wish list. I'm sorry, there are so many. I don't know if I could.
We don't have time.
One of the things I don't have time. So one of the things really is when you're doing architectural work and you go, I want my rafters to do this. That then becomes the top thing on your wish list. When you look at the wall framing and you go, man, I wish it would do the wall framing the way we do here. I wish I'd have more control over the choices, like, you know, should there be a jack stud underneath my sills? We should have more choices for that sort of stuff. The challenge is that, you know, there are so many things that Vectorworks are working on. You know, we've got the new M1 chips for the Macintosh. They need to redo that. There's so much work for them to do. At the moment, my big thing is the challenge we've got where the walls are different heights, and you join a wall together, and the two walls are different heights, and you end up with a piece missing at the high level where the joint is carried up. So there's a whole lot of little things that just mean that Vectorworks doesn't actually build buildings the way we do, and it would be nicer if we had more control over the way it builds buildings, I think. But yeah, that's a
thank you, Jonathan, for keeping it real.
So don't forget, visit my ArchonCAD knowledge base. This has movies on things like solar studies. What have we got? We must have some sort of solar study here. 3D modeling, we've covered it in lots of different special interest groups. We've got loads of things on lights. I've done a whole, this month we did lighting. Next month coming up, I'm going to be covering data visualization. So we're going to go through this in detail and see how we can actually create these things. I've actually set these up in a really sneaky way, Barbara, so that when you go to these asset report, what you do here is you can move objects from room to room, and they'll just change. So if I move that desk into room 6, oh, it's not listed as one of the rooms. Let's move it into room 1. And then you update. You'll find that objects move out of one room and back into another. So if I put that desk back into that room, you'll see the desk turns up here. And I thought it would be quite fun to color the desks based on the color choices we've made. So this is a really neat little database, asset database, where you can just, you know, by moving stuff from one room to another, you can just update your spreadsheet and it'll count and see where things are and which room things are in.
Oh, well, this is a great teaser, Jonathan.
Uses the great little technique in Vectorworks that locates the location. Anyway, so back to my website. Become a subscriber. It really helps me out. I really need this. You know, I really need the help of this so that I can keep this going. There's lots of information here. if you're interested in getting started with Vectorworks, there is a Vectorworks Foundation course as part of this subscription. I'm not logged in, but it's got all my modules are here, and you can go through an entire foundation course in Vectorworks. Plus, there's just, sorry, I don't know how many movies are here. I want to say thousands. Maybe there are. I don't know. I haven't counted them all. Last time I counted them up was 2,500.
It's a lot.
It's kind of a lot.
It's a lot.
I've tried to reduce them, Barbara, so that we're just focusing on the most important things. But you can see we've got, you know, 3D modeling. There's a short 3D modeling course here, which is kind of fun. And don't forget to look at my YouTube channel. Become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. You can see I'm posting stuff on a regular basis. If there's something that in between this session or something I covered in the session that you want me to make a YouTube movie on, get in touch with Barbara and send her a message. Say, oh, I couldn't remember how to do that. Jonathan went too quick. Let's go back over that again. And if you need help outside this and you want private training, don't forget to get in touch. It's something I do. Oh, Barbara, you might want to show your
We're not
website.
ready yet for that, but we'll soon have up our very own expert page where we'll feature Jonathan's first in line. I don't want to show you that yet because it's not quite perfected, but we'll have a page where we have all the best experts in the field for every type of software. So look no further.
In the meantime, just send me an email, contact support. Yeah, thanks for having me, Barbara. I hope I answered all the questions.
Thank you so much, Jonathan. I'm going to take the screen back for a second and remind everybody that there's a discount code that you can take advantage of as early as till midnight. It's VWJP42621. Today only, extra 10% of discount for Vectorworks. And I also want to remind you that there's a promo expiring at the end of this week. And thank you for attending. Novage is always happy to help you answer your questions. And Novage, you have all the choice and the freedom to make them without consequences for choosing one product versus the other. We just want to give you the software you need. And we have the best advice and the faster service that goes with it. Thank you so much for joining us today, and see you next time. Bye-bye, Jonathan. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, Barbara. Bye, everybody.
Bye.